What remains when dignity is threatened?
Wow.
That is a remarkably heavy question to start with, I know.
Yeah, no kidding.
Usually we look at stories, books, movies, to see how life should be lived. We want the heroic triumphs.
Right, the clear moral victories. We want to see
Mhm.
people overcoming obstacles, not being crushed by them.
Exactly. But looking through the research we have for today, we are pivoting hard. We're looking at a story that isn't about thriving. It is strictly about surviving.
And not in the way we usually think of it. This isn't a zombie apocalypse.
No, no shotgun, no plan. This is about surviving the fragility of your own life when the safety net is just completely gone.
It's a profound shift. I mean, most stories are about gaining something, power, love, status. But the research here suggests that the most human stories, the ones that really stick with us, are often about the terror of losing the very little you have.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We are unpacking Vittorio De Sica's 1948 masterpiece, Bicycle Thieves.
Or Ladri de Biciclette, yeah.
And I want to be clear right off the bat. If you're hearing black and white foreign film from 1948 and, reaching for the skip button,
Please don't.
don't. We are not doing a dusty film review. We're not going to summarize the plot. That's not what this is.
No. The mission today is a narrative exploration. We're looking at why this specific film, holds the key to understanding things that feel so modern. The weight of responsibility, the definition of dignity.
And we have some data coming up later that shows this movie is weirdly beating out modern blockbusters on streaming.
That part is fascinating.
Yeah, the algorithm loves 1948 Italian sadness. Who
Okay.
knew? But let's set the tone. The vibe today is a bit calmer because while the film is old, the anxiety it portrays, it feels like it could have been filmed yesterday.
It's timeless because the struggle is timeless. So here's the roadmap. We're going to start with the reality of Italian neorealism,
Okay.
what that actually means. Then we'll look at the bicycle itself, not as a vehicle, but as a survival tool.
Mm.
Then we'll get into that father-son dynamic that just breaks everyone's heart. And finally, we'll hit that surprising data.
All right, let's do it. Let's go back. 1948, Italy. The war is over. But the notes here paint a pretty grim picture. This is not the Italy of postcards.
No, far from it.
Yeah.
To get this film, you have to understand the wreckage. Italy in 1948 was structurally devastated. The economy is in ruins. Unemployment is rampant.
And this is happening while Hollywood is making, Technicolor musicals.
Exactly. Hollywood is building these massive, perfect sets, glamorous, escapist stuff. But in Italy, a group of filmmakers looks at the rubble outside their window and says, we can't lie about this.
We can't lie. That's powerful. And that's the birth of Italian neorealism. Break this down for us. What makes it different from just a sad drama?
It's a specific set of rules, almost
Yeah.
a manifesto. First, cinematic restraint. They rejected spectacle. But the big thing, they rarely used professional actors for the leads.
Really?
And they didn't use sets.
Wait, so the set in the movie isn't a set.
It's just Rome, the actual streets.
So the notes mention that when you see rubble, that's actual bomb damage from the war that hadn't been cleared yet.
Precisely. They just went out with a camera. And the people in the background, they aren't extras. They're just everyday Romans.
Yeah.
It creates this atmosphere you just can't fake.
Mm.
The environment itself feels hostile.
It feels like the city itself is the antagonist.
That's a great way to put it. The goal was empathy. The filmmakers wanted to force the audience to look at the poverty they might otherwise ignore, to make the invisible people visible.
And they cast a factory worker as the lead. Right?
Yes, Lamberto Maggiorani. He wasn't an actor. And you can see it in his face. He has the look of a man who is genuinely tired, genuinely worried. You can't teach that.
So we have this backdrop of real desperation. And into this, we drop our protagonist, Antonio. The premise is so simple. A guy needs a bicycle.
It sounds trivial, doesn't it? If I
Yeah.
lost my bike today, you'd say, oh, that sucks, call your insurance.
Right. It's an inconvenience.
Wow.
But we have to reframe value here. The bicycle isn't for exercise.
No. Antonio has been unemployed for 2 years. 2 years. He finally gets a job pasting movie posters up around the city. But the one condition is, you must have a bicycle.
No bike, no job.
And no job means no food. Literally. It means his family starves.
There's a detail in the summary that really stuck with me. To get the bike, which he had pawned, his wife Maria has to do something.
She strips the sheets off their bed.
They're bedding. She washes them and pawns the family's bed linens to get the cash to get the bike back.
And that detail is so crucial. It shows how close to the edge they are. They have absolutely no margin for error.
So when that bike gets stolen,
Yeah.
which happens almost immediately, It's not a property crime. It
Uh,
feels violent.
It's an assault on his life. One analyst in our notes compares it to stealing someone's oxygen tank while they're underwater.
That's the perfect analogy. It's not theft, it's a death sentence. And this brings us to a key point in the source material. Responsibility can feel heavier than poverty itself.
That's a deep insight. If he were a single man, starving, he could perhaps handle it. But he isn't just fighting for himself. He is fighting for his son.
It transforms the genre, doesn't it? The high-stakes thriller here is just the possibility of going home empty-handed.
Precisely. The Criterion Collection analysis calls this everyday tragedy. The most dramatic moments in life aren't explosions. They are the quiet terrors, the terror of uselessness.
Uselessness. Oof, that hits hard. That feeling of, I had the solution and it just slipped away.
It is. And it sets the stage for the core of our deep dive, the fragility of dignity. Because once that bike is gone, the movie becomes a frantic search. But it's not just for an object, it's a test of his moral character.
And he's not searching alone. This is the part that makes the movie just impossible to watch without tearing up. He's dragging his little boy Bruno along with him.
The presence of the child changes everything.
The Guardian's reviews all talk about Bruno. Why is he so important?
Because he's the witness. If Antonio were alone, his desperation would be tragic but solitary. But because his son is watching him, every single failure is magnified.
It adds this layer of shame. It's not just I lost my job, it's my son is watching me fail.
Exactly. It's about maintaining stature. A father wants to be a hero to his son, but as Antonio gets more desperate, you see him just crumbling under Bruno's gaze.
And Bruno's not a typical movie kid. He's like a little old man.
He often acts more mature than the father. He just looks at him with this silent, judging, wide-eyed confusion. It forces you to ask a very uncomfortable question.
Which is?
What happens to a good person when they are pushed to the absolute brink?
Right. We all like to think we have a solid moral compass. I would never steal. But this film asks, is your morality a fixed trait or is it a luxury?
Is it a luxury afforded by your safety net? When the system fails, Antonio, the police, his friends, the church, he's left with nothing. And he starts to eye the bicycles of others. The thought creeps in.
It forces you to ask, what would I do if my kid was hungry? Where's the line?
And the film handles this so quietly. There's no big monologue. The power is in the silence. It's in the walking, the searching, the waiting.
The pacing is just relentless in its monotony. Hours of walking, looking at faces, hoping for a miracle that isn't coming.
And that monotony is the point. It wears the character down and it wears you down. You feel his exhaustion.
So, okay, we have this heartbreaking, slow burn story, and you'd think, great for film class, but the average person today is watching superheroes.
You would think that. But the data tells a really interesting contradictory story.
This is the part from our notes I found fascinating. Near-realist films like this actually perform surprisingly well on streaming platforms.
Right. It's what the algorithms classify as evergreen cinema behavior.
Yeah.
It doesn't go viral, but it has this very long tail.
But why? Is it just students doing homework?
It's more than that. The retention patterns show that when general audiences click on these films, they stick with them. They finish them.
My gut says it's like a dopamine detox.
You're onto something. In a world of constant information overload, 15-second videos, explosions, there's a subconscious hunger for truth, for something real.
It's the counter-programming effect. When everything is loud, silence becomes really attractive.
Exactly. And we're smart audiences now. We know when we're being manipulated by a swelling score. But with this film, there's no formula. It just feels raw.
And the struggle itself is universal. I mean, we might not need a bicycle to paste posters, but that feeling of economic anxiety.
It maps perfectly. Think of the gig worker whose car breaks down. That's Antonio. The freelancer whose laptop dies. That's Antonio. The technology changes, but the fragility, the knowledge that one piece of bad luck can ruin you, that's timeless.
It really is. You don't need to speak Italian to understand the look on a father's face when he knows he can't fix the problem.
It absolutely transcends it. And this brings us back to what the academics in our notes call an empathy machine.
An empathy machine. I love that. Unpack that for us.
Well, most movies train us to imagine ourselves as the hero, the winner. This film trains us to observe. It trains you to see the humanity in the invisible people around you.
So after watching, you might look at the delivery guy or the person struggling on the side of the road, and you don't just see an inconvenience, you see a protagonist.
That's it. It expands your circle of concern. You realize everyone is carrying a heavy load, even if you can't see it.
And that's why it's still relevant, because as long as there is that fragility of dignity, this story will always matter.
You don't need a massive budget to tell a massive story. You just need a truth.
And the courage to show it without forcing a happy ending just to make the audience feel better.
That's the kicker, isn't it? The film does not let you off the hook.
No.
And that lack of an easy resolution is why it sticks with you. It stays unresolved in your mind. You carry the weight of it.
It haunts you. In the best way.
It does.
So as we wrap up, let's recap. We started in the rubble of post-war Rome with neorealism.
We looked at the bicycle as a lifeline and how responsibility can be more crushing than poverty itself.
We talk about that father-son dynamic, how dignity is tested when you're being watched by someone you love.
And we saw that even in the age of algorithms, there's this persistent, quiet demand for stories that just tell the truth about being human.
So that brings us to our final thought. We always like to leave you with something to mull over.
And the source material offers a really profound lesson here. We often look for dignity in grand gestures, the big promotion, the victory.
Right, when we're on top.
But this film flips that completely. It asks us to consider, is dignity actually defined by how we handle the moments when we are completely powerless?
When you've lost the one thing you need most.
Exactly. So the question for you to carry with you is this. In your own life, right now, what is your bicycle? What is that one thing, that job, that relationship, that tool that's holding your world together?
And who would you become if it were taken away? Would you stay the hero, or would you become the thief? It's a heavy question, but one worth asking. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thank you. Keep watching and keep thinking.